Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, our guest today is Corey Harbison, Republican nominee for District 12. Also, the V-Team will take a look at conflicting opinions on Obamacare. And Mike Hubbard has lost 10 House seats in the last year, yet he's crowing like a rooster. Should be running like a hen. All this and much, much more. Cock-a-doodle-doo, it's the V. Welcome to the Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by the V-Team. Welcome
Good morning.
Home.
Good morning.
Good Sunday. This week, 2 federal courts passed conflicting opinions on the Affordable Care Act. What's the deal, Charlana?
It's a mess, and it's a mess that's going to wind up most likely in the U.S. Supreme Court. When you have 2 significant decisions like this out of federal courts that conflict, and these directly conflict, and they did it within a couple of hours of each other. The D.C. Circuit Court said that these 36 federally run, the federally run exchange program can't offer the subsidies that these states aren't able to offer. And the other court out of the Fourth Circuit said, yes, this was perfectly fine. And so you're going to have a real big split because there are something like 86 or 87% of the people who signed up for the Affordable Care Act through healthcare.gov that are on subsidies. And if the subsidy is taken away, it means that their premiums will jump on the order of 75, 76%.
Wow.
Well, some of us are already familiar with premiums jumping real high.
Yeah.
But this is a big deal, isn't it, Barron?
It is a big deal. Essentially, the issue is whether an agency can rewrite statutes to make them usable. The statute was poorly written. I think that's been written about and talked about ad nauseum. Right. It doesn't give the authority to the federal government to establish exchanges. It says that the states will do it. Well, the states refused, and so the federal government came in and decided to do it anyway. The D.C. Circuit looked at it very literally and said, you know what? The statute is the only thing we have to go by. The Fourth Circuit looked at it and said, come on, it would be worthless without it. We're going to go with the agency's ability to rewrite it a little bit in order to save it, and the Supreme Court's going to probably have to take it up.
But it highlights one of the biggest glitches in the Affordable Care Act, and that was the understanding that all of the states would adopt their own exchanges, and because there were so many Republican governors who refused to do that, and then you had Democratic governors who said, look, it's just so complicated, we don't know how to set it up. So
what
that's
about
the
states
biggest
that
problem.
have formed their own exchanges?
They're untouched by these.
They're fine.
Right.
Yeah.
But the problem is there's
States like Alabama is where you run into
Alabama,
There's only 10 or 12
Mississippi.
states that have exchanges.
Yeah.
The rest of them are going through the federal exchange, and therein lies the conflict. It's going to become the Unaffordable Care Act.
Well, yeah.
They don't do something.
Luther Strange issued a statement saying he was excited, and then they weren't so excited after that.
Yeah, he claimed victory about 2 hours too soon.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, the Democratic Party is looking to bring their 2016 convention to Birmingham. But Bill Armistead sent a pretty nasty welcoming letter, didn't he, Claire?
Well, and I honestly, I think what Bill Armistead did was in bad taste. I mean, I've been a lifelong Republican, but anybody in the state of Alabama should look at this as a wonderful opportunity. Will be showcased throughout the whole United States of America. And
it's tourism dollars.
Yeah, it's money. It's tax.
This would be a great thing for both Birmingham and for Jefferson County to have any kind of group this size coming in. It's a good thing for the state.
Well, it's historic, too.
Hundreds or thousands of news cameras, crews, tens of thousands of people coming to visit.
And it'll be for week. It won't just be for that 1 week.
And
Trust me,
it
they
can
build
help
up for it'll be
change the
months
image of Birmingham.
Absolutely.
That people have. I thought it was a little tasteless on Bill's behalf to do that.
That's not unusual for him.
Unfortunately, he's been leaning that way a lot lately, which is
well, it's sad.
to
I
see.
mean, I think we ought to welcome everybody to the state, Democrat, Republican, Independent. It really should.
Especially ones that are bringing in tax dollars. I mean, the lodging taxes
Oh,
for
yeah.
all of the hotel rooms that would be taken is a
It
great
really won't
thing.
just be Birmingham. It'll be so many. It will spread out to counties all across
yeah.
the state of
Yeah.
Alabama, particularly in that whole 12-county area around Jefferson County.
Well, Birmingham has changed. I mean, the city is much cleaner, much prettier than most people know. I mean, it's got a lot to offer.
It could be exciting.
Yeah, I'd like to
Republicans
do
are going
it.
to Cleveland, so we know they're not going to Ohio.
Yeah, that's Cleveland, the mistake by the lake, I think is what they call Cleveland.
Well, it's a nice town. I've been there before. It's
Yeah,
nice. It'll be
real
nice.
But Birmingham is nicer.
Right.
Yes,
So we would
okay.
love to have the Democratic National
We'll
Committee meet
take
here.
their money, right? We'll
Yes.
take their money. Doesn't
Yes.
matter, it all's green, right?
Speaking of green,
Speaking of green, they want to take some of our money in the form of internet sales tax. Governor Bentley has pushed it, Mike Hubbard's pushed it, Dale Marsh has pushed it. They want to tax us.
and our U.S. congressional delegation as well. I mean,
Yeah.
this is not something that is a foreign concept.
No.
If you make purchases on the internet today, by law, you're supposed to pay a use tax.
Right.
Right. And to be honest with you, 3 years ago, they introduced a bill and tried to push it in the Alabama legislature, but of course, eBay and all the big
Amazon, those kind of folks.
Amazon.com, they all hired up a bunch of lobbyists and they killed it.
Well, it's voluntary, right? You're supposed to
No,
voluntarily
it's
pay
not.
it.
It's not voluntary.
Supposed to
It's
claim it on your
mandatory for you
taxes.
to pay it, and you have to pay it the first month after your purchase. The problem is that it's very hard to police,
Right.
and the Revenue Department doesn't have the kind of enforcement ability that really goes after people who don't charge it or don't pay it.
It's the retailers, the brick and mortar people that hate this,
Yeah.
right, Baron?
No, the brick and mortar people, I think,
They're
actually
for it.
favor
They're
it.
absolutely
because they
for
want to
this
level
internet
the, they want
No,
to
that's
level
what
the
I
playing
meant.
field.
They hate the no tax.
No, I'm frustrated with the direction of the leadership if this is where they're going to try to get additional revenue. It's not enforceable.
Right.
It's almost a voluntary tax, and it's paid by very few people. It's not going to live up to the expectations they're anticipating.
But we're talking about $260 million in potential revenue if you believe the UAB's School of Business estimates on that
but they're gonna
every
see
year.
That money's not coming.
Okay, then they've also got to hire a lot of additional employees at the Revenue Department to police this.
Yeah.
Well, and Dale Marsh is talking about cutting employees. I mean, we
know,
can't have
that's
it all. We can't tax, we can't cut. I mean, how does the government cut more out of it than it already has? I mean, how's that going to work, Charlotte?
We're stripped to the skeletal remains right now when we talk about folks working in government. But this is an opportunity, if Bentley is serious about wanting to raise revenue, this is a tax that is already in place. It is not adopting something that we don't already
Right.
have the duty to pay.
Right. But you just can't get people to pay it.
They're not paying it now, they're not going to pay it then.
I know on iTunes, when you go on iTunes, they just they charge you your tax right
Yeah.
there. Some of
And
them
most internet retailers, I think, do that as a matter of course because so many states already do it. In the last several years, I've seen one purchase that I've made that wasn't automatically included at the front end.
Well, I can't say that.
Well, that was one of the big draws for the internet for years and years. You got to
That's
save
right.
10%. But listen, we got to get out of here. You're watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back with Corey Harbison, Mayor of Good Hope.
Well, your dadgum government, you sorry so-and-sos. You got your damned hands in every pocket of my clothes. Well, you dadgum government.
The V is sponsored by Spot On Strategies Group.
Oh, don't you know, oh, don't you love them sometimes?
Welcome to Alabama's newest entertainment destination, Wind Creek, Wetumpka. The perfect escape for date night, a getaway with your friends, or a relaxing poolside cocktail. Whether it's a day trip to enjoy the best steak in Alabama or a romantic weekend, the finest Southern hospitality is just a short drive away. Wind Creek, Wetumpka. Find your winning moment.
I make sure to get your kids to school and home safe every day. I am AEA.
I make sure your child receives a healthy meal each day. I am AEA.
Thank you, AEA, for protecting our public schools and our futures. We are AEA.
Hey everybody! Heart disease affects affects 1 in every 3 women in America, but you can fight back.
There's no time to lose.
Mothers, sisters, daughters, families, and friends, it's time to shout louder, stand stronger, and demand change.
Let's go!
To the Batmobile. Dang it.
To the invisible jet!
Dang it. Together, we can put an end to heart disease. It's time to go red for women.
I could use your help.
Learn more from the American Heart Association at www.goredforwomen.org.
Welcome back to the V, the voice of Alabama politics. Our guest today is Good Hope Mayor Corey Harbison, also the newest member of the House of Representatives here in Montgomery.
Come November, that's right, District 12.
Welcome.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
You had a very interesting race. You're a Republican who ran against an incumbent Republican, and they threw the kitchen sink at you, and you won by 10%. How did you do it?
We just hit the ground and worked hard and tried to get our message out the best we could and met a lot of people. I mean, just good old-fashioned campaign work, I think.
You did have a lot of competition. I mean, the Speaker of the House came up to that district to campaign for Mac Buttram. Former Governor Bob Riley came up there. I mean, how did that make you feel?
You know, in the end, I have to work with these people, of course, and I know that it's just politics, and that, you know, Mac had been good and loyal to them, and I understand them wanting to come up and support Mac because of his loyalty. But I guess it probably didn't hurt as bad as the Republican chairman, Bill Armstead, when he was up there working against me. But I mean, I'm not going to let it bother me. I'll just leave it there.
That's big of you.
Yeah.
A lot of politicians, they let it bother you.
Yeah.
You've been the mayor of Good Hope, which is outside of Coleman, for what, two terms?
Two terms. I'm on 6 years.
What made you get into politics to begin with?
I've always, since I was in high school, I graduated from Good Hope in 2004, and then I ran for mayor when I was 22 in 2008, so I was still fairly young coming into it, but I've always had a desire to work and serve the public. I was a deputy sheriff in Coleman County for a little while, and I just enjoy working with people and trying to make a difference in my community.
One of the things that I read about you that was very impressive is you said you were going to work for the people of your district and not the, how'd you say it?
I think I said bigwigs maybe, or
bigwigs in Montgomery.
That's right. And I come out with that when the local paper, the Coleman Times, had wrote an article about the election coming up. I think it was a Sunday edition. The runoff was on a Tuesday, and that's when the Speaker and the Bob Riley and all those guys, I think maybe about 30 legislators, had went door to door on the Saturday before. And you know, I said, I think that shows why we need a change in our district.
Yeah.
When you have 30 House members, a former governor here, the Speaker, when they're all here, they know they have a yes vote with my opponent, and I think that's why, you know, we need to make a change.
Well, it's always healthy to have competition. I mean, I think it's wise, but you putting the district first is going to be somewhat of an anomaly down here because a lot of folks don't. They put party first.
That's right, and I think that's part of the problem with the Montgomery politics. I'm fresh in Montgomery, but I've been mayor for a while now, and that's what I tell everybody. We go into the council meeting, and it's myself and 5 council members, and we may not always agree. We don't vote with party lines. That's what's great about being nonpartisan in the municipal government, because we vote, and we may not always agree, but our voice is on record, and we walk away and shake hands and go on about it. And I think that we lack that in Montgomery. I think that if you don't vote a certain way, then it's probably held against you, and you're going to face repercussions if it's not the way that you're told to vote.
It was interesting that they would dare send that many people to Coleman County. They obviously don't know the folks of Coleman County. They don't like to be told what to do they?
Well, that's right, and I don't think that it would work anywhere in the state. It may in South Alabama. I don't know the dynamics of the politics here, but you know, in 4 years, if I decide to run for re-election and I've developed a relationship with these guys, and they come to me and they want to come up and knock door to door if I have an opponent, thanks but no thanks. I think that it's important that you run your own race and show what you can do. You know, and it is good to have the power behind you in Montgomery, but when it comes to facing your constituents, I think you need to be accountable and you need to be there for them.
What's your priority when you come down here to Montgomery? Do you have your set priorities, what you're looking to accomplish, what you want to accomplish while you're here?
I have some ideas on some things that I would like to do, but my first goal is to develop some relationships with some of these guys. I mean, if you're one vote out of 105 House members is not going to be very effective, but I hope to come back and heal some of the relationships that I may have tarnished by defeating Mac and work with some of these other House members, and that's my first goal. And then we'll go from there on some of the other things I'd like to accomplish. But I'm not going to be able to accomplish any of that without having relationships and support on the House floor.
Well, there's some really good folks down here, and there's some not so good folks. I mean, it's probably not different than our communities. You know, there's always good
That's
and
right.
bad.
No, and no matter where you work or where you go, you're going to face that.
Yeah.
You're going to take the good with the bad.
Common Core, your stand against Common Core was a very big issue up there. You really came out against it, didn't you?
I did, and before the primary, we kind of stayed out of it, which I've always opposed Common Core, but we didn't make it a huge issue. But that was one of the main things that I heard as I was out campaigning is the opposition that they have to Common Core in Coleman, and I felt like that after the June 3rd primary, going into the runoff, that's something that set me and Mac apart, because he had come out in favor of Common Core, and so you know, we hit it pretty hard, and I think it had a big impact on the way this election turned out.
You beat the establishment, but you're going to have to work with them. You're a big man to do that, and I appreciate you doing that.
Hey, you know, like I said, I don't hold any grudges against them, and I hope they don't me. I look forward to going down and like I said, building relationships and working for my district and working for the whole state of Alabama. Even though I'm from District 12 in North Alabama, the decisions that we make on the House floor and the votes that we make impact the entire state. No hard feelings. I look forward to getting down and working with these guys and getting my hands dirty and getting involved.
We want to thank you for your service and congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
Our guest has been Corey Harbison, Mayor of Good Hope and newly elected House member. You're watching The V.
The V is sponsored by MediaWorks Communications Video Production Services for all your video production needs.
Preventing wildfires. That's all Smokey wants for his 70th birthday.
I teach. I touch the future. I am AEA.
I keep the school clean every day for your children. I am AEA.
Congratulations on your scholarship. I help children make choices for college and careers. I am AEA.
We are AEA.
Welcome to Alabama's newest entertainment destination, Wind Creek, Wetumpka. The perfect escape for date night, a getaway with your friends, or a relaxing poolside cocktail. Whether it's a day trip to enjoy the best steak in Alabama or a romantic weekend, the finest Southern hospitality is just a short drive away. Wind Creek, Wetumpka. Find your winning moment.
Welcome back to the V, the voice of Alabama politics. Jack, nice to have you on the set.
Thank you, Bill. Always a pleasure.
Corey Harbison is a very impressive young man. I hope he does well in the legislature.
I do too, and I think he'll be a nice new addition down there and a breath of fresh air, and I wish him all the best. I mean, Jack, y'all know him very well.
Yeah, we know him very well. He's a hail fellow, well met. He'll get along fine.
Yeah, he's
Even
not
though they try to beat his eyes out.
Yeah.
38 of his soon-to-be colleagues tried to beat his eyes out, but
He's not a tiny little fella either, so
No,
they're going to have to look
boy.
up to him and not look down on him.
But how does that work, Barron? I mean, how do they mend these fences?
Well, he's not a bombastic flamethrower. That's
Right.
not his personality. He's
Right.
a little more reserved. He kept to himself. He's very funny. He's very outgoing once you get to know him, but he'll get in there and he'll make some friends. He's told me privately and publicly on air that he doesn't have any problem with the people. He understands that's part of the process, and he's going down there looking to make friends and try to make the process work.
Nice young man.
He is.
I hope he has a successful career.
Absolutely. I look forward to working with him.
Someone who hasn't been a great success lately is Mike Hubbard. He's lost 10 House seats, loyal House seats, in the last year. 3 in the special elections and 7 in the primaries. This hurts him, doesn't it, Barry?
It does hurt him. I mean, there's no doubt the Republicans will have a supermajority by the numbers.
Right.
And whether
The
or
numbers,
not, whether or not Mike Hubbard will have a supermajority to elect him Speaker, and whether or not they'll be able to get cloture at will like they've been able to do the last 4 years is up for debate. I don't think it's good for the democratic process to have instant cloture anytime you want it at the snap of a finger. So we'll see how it works out.
We hear behind the scenes, there are people that are predicting he's not going to be Speaker next term, that they're actively working against him. Have you heard that?
I've been hearing that for quite some time.
Yeah.
And they've talked about a lot of
I know phone calls have been made by several people on that very subject.
Yeah.
Well, and I think and who knows, y'all? I mean, we've got till we don't come back in for the organizational session in January, and then they go in session in March, so they'll make this decision in January. But there could be a lot that happens between now and then over in Lee County.
A lot could come out of Lee County before then.
You know, you would think these guys would learn a lesson, both Hubbard and Governor Riley. You don't go into an area and tell people how to vote. It doesn't work. And Riley must be a slow learner because he's done this for years, getting involved in races.
Wait a minute, aren't we glad that he hadn't learned that?
Well, I personally am, but there are probably some candidates who wish he would stay out.
Well, Bob thinks he's the sexy beast, but really he's like the kiss of death out there, isn't he?
Well, in these campaigns, it's proven that.
I mean, you have to ask the question, what does a former governor have to gain by trying to get involved in a legislative contest?
He's helping out Mike Hubbard, his son, his speaker. I mean, that's all that is.
I think it's a little bit more than that, Claire.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm trying to be nice this Sunday morning.
He's a lobbyist. He is a former governor who is a lobbyist. Who ever heard of
As
such
Barron
a
said
thing?
earlier, you won't see Robert Bentley coming back as a paid lobbyist after he retires.
No, because their personalities are very different, and Robert Bentley is a statesman, and when he finishes out his next term, these next 4 years, he will go down as a statesman and a good governor in Alabama.
You know, one of the most interesting things I know we were talking about the other day is that the Riley administration never had a major indictment of its administration.
Well, it takes
It just
time.
didn't happen. I mean, that goes all the way back to Wallace.
Well, have you ever heard of the trickle-down theory?
Yeah, I think it's going to trickle down, right?
Barron, you're looking sober over here.
Hey, Barron, I know something that you're really excited about. We're getting new Welcome to Alabama signs to the tune of $150,000
Yeah, I've been clamoring for them.
You
I
like
think
them, don't you?
No, I don't. I think it's a horrible idea. We have perfectly good green signs sitting up there that say, "Welcome to the state of Alabama." Anyone who travels in on any of our interstate highway systems knows they're coming into the state of Alabama. The last thing in the world we need to do is go replace a bunch of functional, good, clean, new-looking signs.
You want to shut down the welcome centers as well?
No, I'm saying status quo at the borders, all right?
Okay.
Status quo at the Alabama borders.
There you have it.
They want the slogan
I
to
don't
be
have a problem with it.
Sweet
I'm
Home
sorry.
Alabama.
I don't have a problem.
Listen, I like them. I mean, the Department of Tourism, Lisa, and telling them they unveiled all this. That is their mission. They've spent a lot of money on this in the last couple of
You have
years.
to change your image every few years. I know Hunt had Alabama homecoming.
Well, and we need to gussy up the state if we're going to get the National Democratic Convention in Birmingham.
Yeah, it'd be nice that Cleveland's
I think, and the signs will help do that, Claire. But
well, let me say this: when we're $200 million in the hole on next year's budget, we can all go sit around and take pictures of that nice, fancy new sign.
I agree with you 100%.
Okay,
but the bottom line, wait a minute. Bottom line, the four of us individuals sitting here at the table today having this discussion do not get to make these decisions. The legislative process
that's true.
makes these decisions.
And you know what? They're going to refurbish the desks and the podium in the Senate chambers. I mean, they were good enough for the Democrats from 1985 until this year, and now the Republicans want to spend $200,000 on desks.
Well, they've spent a lot of money in refurbishing the State House, particularly the fifth floor over the last 3 years.
How do we do that, Jack?
I say scrape the boogers and the gum from underneath the seats and clean the desk really good and shampoo the carpet and move on.
Well, it is crazy, isn't it?
It is crazy. It's the exact same craziness that leads to new signs at the welcome
and
center.
silk plants in the speaker's office.
Well, I'm telling you, it's going to be a PR nightmare for the leadership in the Senate and everywhere else for them to do this because people will report on this.
Made by the two-year college system.
Well, they at least get a good deal on them.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of...
I hope someone holds their feet to the fire and checks the receipts and makes sure it does come in under $200,000 because I'm dubious.
Well, there's plenty. Hopefully, there'll be some reporters that'll be watching.
Yeah,
this.
well, we're watching them. You know,
good luck.
People are starting to watch the VA now. We've got some scandals with the VA. This is a terrible embarrassment for the state, isn't it, Jeff?
Well,
it's not new, really. I have a friend in the Army who said, you know, the mismanagement, waste, and quite frankly, fraud's been going on for a long time.
But it's terrible, isn't it?
It is, and we have 3 big VA hospitals throughout the state of Alabama. And we have a lot of veterans in Alabama, military bases and everything else. But it's been, particularly in the Montgomery area where we have that big one there, there's a lot of problems that have gone on there.
Yeah. Well, the congressional guys...
They're on top of it. Our congressional delegation is on top of it.
It's not going to be fixed. It's a single-payer health care system, just like they have in Canada, just like they have in Great Britain. It doesn't work. It will never work. It can't work in the United States. It's a failed model. And the VA system operates under that model, and anyone clamoring for a single-payer system over the rest of the United States healthcare system, this is what you're going to get.
Well, we really have to honor our servicemen and women, people who put their lives on the line. It's just
give them private health care and let them go into the market.
Well, we're going to have to let it go right there. You've been watching The Voice of Alabama Politics. You can catch us at aoreporter.com every day and on ABC every Sunday. Thank you for watching.
Your dadgum government, you better pay attention. You're sitting up there like a fool's convention. Well, you dadgum your dadgum government. Ooh, well, don't you know? Oh, don't you love them sometimes? Woo! Well, don't you know? Oh, don't you love them sometimes? Whoa, 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 whoa.